I'm
Welcome, guys.
I'm Adam Cousins, and this is
My name is Adela, and I'm a head roaster at Perky Blenders.
Managing Director and co-founder. Thank you very much for joining us on. Well, this is the first of the live cuppings that we're going to be running
Mhm.
at Perky and possibly other places as well. What we're going to do today, keep things nice and simple. We'll run at a nice rate so that you're able to join in at home if you're following us live. This is being recorded, so you'll be able to follow that at a later stage if you'd just like to go through the process with us and taste at your own convenience. So we'll have a little run through about Perky Blenders and who we are. We'll talk through the process of cupping, which is something that is done very regularly. This table's been with us for quite some time, and
Exactly.
know
Yeah.
it very well, don't we?
Yeah, very well from every angle you can imagine.
Main purpose of today is for us to cup our 3 resident blends and just run through the reasons that we have 3 resident blends. So we've got our Acacia blend, our Jazzy Max, and our Anthem blend, which is what you will have had and received in your tasting kit. So along with your tasting kit, there you would have seen there's instructions and a list of equipment that you will need for tasting coffee.
Correct.
So you should need some cups to start with. Cup sizes around about.
Cup size is, let's say, to pour 200 milliliters of water, conveniently. And you can use teacup as well, because this is what every home has, right?
Yeah, that's it. So we really want a kind of consistent size of cup so it's easy for us to measure
Exactly,
our coffee.
exactly. More or less the same size. If you don't, that's completely fine. Just make sure that you will pour 200 mils of water in each cup to keep consistency.
So these are the cupping bowls that we use. As you see, they're about the size of a UK teacup. We don't have handles on ours, not that it makes much difference. We're actually going to run with 2 cups per blend. It's just something that we do as an industry standard. Why would we use 2 cups?
Absolutely. Industry standard is actually for each coffee to have even 5 cups, but 2 cups fine as well. 1 for you guys, no problem at all. But 2 cups, the reason is that sometimes you can actually watch some consistency or taste some consistencies in the cup. It can be coffee defect, or also it can be just a leftover of some soap as well. And it's good to keep an eye on those inconsistencies as well, because you can learn on it as well.
Great. You'll also need, so we've put on here 2 cups or glasses for rinsing and filling with clean water. You may find that you want to clear your palate, but you'll need some additional cups just for some hot water for rinsing your spoons. Spoons, these are a particular cupping spoon that we use.
Yes, they have, like you can see, they have special angle just to be very easy to use, but also use just spoon soup.
Soup spoon,
Soup spoon,
dessert spoon.
Yeah, any spoon actually. Yeah.
And you'll be using 1 spoon consistently while you're tasting the coffee. So just 1 spoon for you, and we'll be rinsing those spoons, cleaning those spoons in between.
Exactly.
Tasting.
Yeah. Every tasting, just clean that spoon afterwards, just not to mixing the coffees together. But you will see it what we're gonna do.
So a couple of other bits of kit. One that we hadn't mentioned on there is we will be timing. We've got a little timer here.
Yes.
It's just a stopwatch, eh? Your mobile phone, most mobile smartphones these days will have a stopwatch. You just want that out ready to set the stopwatch once we've poured the hot water into the coffee. So coffee, we're going to measure out 12 and a half grams.
I would go for 12.5 grams, because when you grind your coffee now, guys, there is always like a little bit of ground coffee stuck in your grinder. So to have to make sure that you will have exactly 12 grams, you can go slightly over 12 grams of coffee beans.
A majority of you that bought kits so far, we notice have been whole beans, so we're expecting you've got grinders at home. If you've got hand grinders, you probably want to start with those now if you haven't already done so following along live, so it takes a little bit of extra time. I at home have got one of those Sage appliances grinders, absolutely fine. Any coffee grinder. The type of grind we're looking for, Adela?
It's usually like the grind size, like what would you use for your filter brew at home? To make it like a more like to imagine for yourself, guys, maybe like a sea salt grind, or for example like sand actually. Yeah. Or you guys, if you are more familiar with filter brewing at home, like V60 or AeroPress, maybe it
Which
will
is
help
what we
as well.
recommended
Yeah,
on
but
the grind
really like a
softwares.
kind of like a scent ground. Yeah.
Nice. So if you want to weigh out your coffee beans ready for grinding, we're going to start doing that. We've got a couple of other people in the room with us. So Brett very kindly is here doing some filming with us. Hey Brett.
Hello everybody.
Hey.
And Chloe's also here to assist us as well, especially on the coffee grinding, so we haven't got too much noise on camera. Hey Chloe.
Hi.
Hey.
Good. So 4 of us are in here on a Sunday. Let's have some fun tasting some coffees. So we're going to weigh out. We're going to go in an order. With the Acacia blend first, Jazzy Max, followed by Anthem, simply because we've got the kind of lighter, sort of sweeter florals in with the Acacia. We'll run through some of those in just a moment. So I'll let you run along. You've got the one thing I didn't mention is the scales.
Scales, yes.
We've got a set of scales that go down to 0.1 of a gram. Your normal kind of domestic scales that measure to 1 gram, absolutely fine. Don't forget to tar in between. But if you measure out your beans, grind. Sometimes we'll cover the cupping bowls, but it's going to be super fresh. We're going to grind just as we go along. So I'll leave you to do that.
I can start, yes.
And I'll just give you a little bit more of an insight into Perky Blenders. First thing just to mention, I've got a coffee wheel behind me, as we mentioned to you. Now there's a few versions of the coffee tasting wheel. The SCA, the Specialty Coffee Association, have one. This one actually is produced by Counterculture Coffee, and you can find that on counterculturecoffee.com. We find this just has a little bit more simplicity, a bit easier to read. We use it when we're training in the roastery and just explaining some of the blends. The way in which this works is as we're tasting coffees and we find that we've got some fruit, that of course has got quite a wide range of different fruits, so we could be tasting anything through from dried fruit, berry fruit, stone fruits, up to your more citrus, which is where we'll be discussing some of the blends that we've got. So Perky Blenders, we're here in Leytonstone in East London, and we'll be running into we're in our 10th year. We're a family-run business, and you'll find us 6 stores. We're opening a 3rd store currently in Walthamstow. We're online, so you can purchase your coffee online. You will have noticed that if you've picked up a pack. But we run a coffee subscription service as well. We started in Walthamstow, and a small roastery that we built in the back garden, moved into a shop in Leighton Midland Road, which is still there, Project 660. The roastery's here in Leytonstone. We've got another shop just up the road in the station up there too, but we supply other wholesale customers too. You may well have picked one of these packs up from places like Artful Blend, Unity Cafe, who are in between Leyton and Walthamstow, and what's the other one that I needed to mention? Who else have we got on the wholesale side? Unity Cafe, Artful Blend, and Milk. So you'll find Milk. They've got a couple of stores, one in Haringey and one in St James Street in Walthamstow. Good. So we've measured out some of our coffee. You'll see we've got a little camera that's down in the bottom of your screen. So hopefully it isn't going to steam up too much when we come to putting our hot water into the coffee. Make sure that you've put your kettle on to boil, and you want to be using filtered water or
distilled water.
Distilled water.
Yeah. But filter water from your corner shop is completely fine, guys. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend like a tap water because we know the quality of the water in the cities these days. So just go for
Yeah, even more so actually. Where we're out in Essex, and I find the water quality is actually it's even harder in some areas.
Yeah.
And when we're talking about hardness of water, effectively, you've got a lot of stuff in the water, as you know, we all learnt at school, calcium and fluoride, etc. What that means is that there's less space in the water to be able to extract the flavours of the coffee. So if you've got filtered waters, the coffee is able to extract better in, and we're able to taste more from the water that we've extracted into. Good. Okay, so what I would suggest you do is that you make sure that you lay your packs out close to where the cupping bowls are, so that you just remember which coffees, of course, you've got in those cupping bowls. Let's have a little talk through the cupping process and why do we cup coffee in this way? Why would we taste coffee in this way?
Simply because first we love coffee, everyone loves coffee, but also like and at the roaster we do that just for simple reason, which is like a quality control check. That's it. So we need to keep consistency, freshness, and good quality. So every production roast actually we cup, and just to observe that we're doing a good job.
Yeah, and we're doing that
Thank
every
you.
day. So each of the batches that we drop through the coffee roaster, which is either sent out to our stores or in the bags to you by post, we cup for a quality control every batch that's being dropped through with the roaster. But of course, there's a lot of coffee sampling that happens with the coffees that we are modelling, I suppose, for our blends.
Exactly. So the first thing, guys, like I keep track on quality, but also when I'm choosing a new coffee to have it in our range, so I always get some samples and I roast them as well. So it's about like an introduction of coffee profile for me. So I always, before I do any purchase, I need to taste them as well because I need to know what I'm buying.
Yeah, so we'll run little sample roasts and then try the coffees and make sure they're going to match into the blends, which I'll run through once we've got our cups set up. So you should now have 12.5 grams worth of ground coffee in each of your 3 cups, or if you're doing additional ones like ours. Your kettle wants to hit boil, let it off the boil for a moment, and 97 degrees is actually perfect for us on the cupping bowl. So should we start pouring?
Before pouring, what I would do, and I always recommend that, because you can already kind of taste or like guess the flavor of the coffee on a dry smell. So before you pour water, just smell the coffee. You can shake the bowl like that and just smell it. And also, guys, feel free to make note on the side, because if you smell something really interesting or something even odd, you can just make a note, because that smell or aroma, that aroma can be even more interesting or can disappear completely during the cupping process. So without water, I would just smell it and you'll see.
Yeah, really, I'm really getting quite the
Yeah.
Jazzy Max, which is my favourite blend, which has got the natural coffees in there, really kind of real zesty fruit kind of.
Yeah.
Quite significant, actually.
Yeah, and for example, there's no wrong answer in terms of coffee tasting, so feel free to use your trust your taste actually, and some smell can be already like it feel lighter a little bit. This is fruitier, for example, that Jazzy, as Adam mentioned.
Really different. I mean, I don't get much from the acacia.
Exactly.
From the aroma.
Exactly, because acacia is, as Adam mentioned, like from washed coffees, and those washed coffees, they actually like reveal their taste when they are brewed properly. So let's see.
Yeah, like you say, I feel like I've already tasted the coffees. Yeah,
I've
got a real kind of nutty caramelly kind of like smell that I'm getting, but the stone fruit, almost that fermented kind of like fruit is really coming through with Jazzy Max.
Yeah, I agree. So
good.
Maybe,
should we pour some hot water?
Yeah, maybe guys, now you should have your water ready as well.
So don't forget, you want to get your stopwatches out as well.
Yeah.
We're going to pour in a direction across the table from your left to right. And the reason we're doing that with acacia at the start is because
it's the lightest roast, and when we will cup it later. So thank you. Those flavors are quite like a flora and light, so you're not too tired, your taste buds are not too tired, so you can take it as the first one.
Cool.
Based on my own experience, guys, but you will see how it will fit for you. So I will start. So guys, press your timer and let's go, and top up the water up to the rim, or if you're not sure, just up to 200 ml of water. Ideally, it would create a little dome, the crust, and I just pour over, sorry. Thank you.
Good. While Adela is doing that, so once you've poured, would you smell the coffees at this stage, or would you wait until
I
that
would
4
wait
minute?
like a 1-2 minutes, and then before breaking the crust, you can actually smell it as well, because you will see the change. And if you made some notes before, you can actually make another note, and it will be very, very different, trust me, because the coffee is actually brewing right now.
2 bowls enough for you?
Yeah, I think we are fine with 2.
So what Adela's doing here is pouring that extra cup of hot water. So we'll just be leaving that as clean water. But when we do come to break the crust, which we'll run through, and we'll do that at minute 4,
Exactly.
we're going to need somewhere to be able to scoop the coffee grounds into as well, and just be able to clean our spoon. So it's always handy to just have some hot water on the side in a cup when you're cupping.
Yes.
Good. Okay, so we're going to be tasting our 3 resident blends, and we've actually got a range of 7 blends here at Perky. They're not always blends, actually, 7 coffees. So we've got our Anthem blend. This is what you'll find when you're drinking coffee in stores. So if you've ever drunk coffee at one of our outlets, you will be drinking the Anthem blend. This makes a fantastic espresso. We refer to it as the classic and caramel, don't we?
Yes.
But classic meaning for espresso?
Just very well balanced espresso. So it has really nice, like a chocolatey and nutty and caramelly body, with loads of sweetness, but also a little hint of acidity, like fruits, like citruses or like berries. It depends what we choose, but usually like a classic, it's classic combination of Brazil and Colombia.
And there's such a range that we could offer in terms of coffees, but of course we're also very mindful of what people are expecting coffee to taste like. Now my favourite blend is the Jazzy Max, and Jazzy Max they're both naturals that we've got in there.
Correct.
The 2 coffees we've got in Jazzy Max at the moment.
At the moment we have a coffee from Uganda and Honduras.
Honduras,
yeah. 2 beautiful natural lots, and they are very like almost funky. They have really juicy body and loads of like a kind of jammy flavors and red berries flavors. Your favorite?
Absolutely my favourite. So I tend to drink espresso when I'm at home. A lot of people regularly drinking filter coffees. All of our coffees are what we call an omni roast, so you can use those as an espresso at home. But if I was to be making coffee for my parents when they come round, normally I'll be firing the Anthem blend or the Forest blend, which is very close to that as well. Just simply because with Jazzy Max I know what I'm expecting, and occasionally when people taste a coffee that's really that fruity as an espresso, can also throw them a bit, and it's really down to personal preference.
Absolutely.
Now, where this came about is the reason of having the coffee wheel here. We run a coffee of the month. This month it is Samambaia, same farm actually of the Brazilian coffee that the Anthem blend comes from.
Hold on for a bit, Adam, because guys, now it's time to break the crust for a minute.
Perfect.
So grab your spoons, and doing the breaking crust as well, feel free to actually smell the coffee as well, because you're breaking the surface and more aromas are actually going up, opening up.
So we're just pushing the coffee to the back of the cup.
Exactly. 3 times, easy. There's no like a particular rule, but don't go too deep with the spoon as well, because there are other like the rest of the ground sitting on the bottom, and you don't want to
scraping the top of the coffee to the back of the cup and smelling at the same time.
Exactly.
Okay.
You can also smell the back of the spoon. And always rinse it after each cup. So now we broke the crust, and now we can actually clean the surface using those 2 spoons, or if you have a big spoon, it's possible with 1 spoon as well. But what we usually do, we just simply clean it like this.
So you're just taking just the surface coffee. Some has dropped to the bottom, which we leave there.
Which we leave there, exactly. And nicely, it's quite meditative as well.
And we'll be leaving these coffees to cool now before we're tasting them.
Absolutely,
for
because it's still very hot, so you would burn your tongue easily. So you can wait 4 or 5 more minutes, but be careful. You can taste it and you'll see, because everyone is very different. Or I would probably wait until 12 or 14 minutes.
Yeah.
This is kind of standard. And then you can start tasting the coffee.
And we'll experience this, but like there's quite a change, isn't there, as the coffee starts to cool.
Absolutely.
Different flavours. I
Yeah.
certainly find that when the coffee's cooled down quite a lot, I taste it very significantly differently. Good. So the coffee wheelers I was mentioning earlier on, the reason for our 3 resident blends. If you were to look at the counter coffee culture wheel, which the SCA one is laid out slightly differently. Up in this area here, we've got kind of like vegetal, herby, anything from like green peppers and tomatoes. I remember when we very first started, we had some coffee from Clemson's actually. They're really excited about it. We've got real tomatoey flavour in there. It wasn't for everybody, and really got us thinking about what should we be presenting as coffees? What are going to be the crowd pleasers? What do people want to be able to drink at home? Because a lot of the feedback that we've had with our coffee of the month, which I mentioned is a Salmon Bai, you find that with a yellow label. This changes every month, obviously, and we make a concerted effort to make sure that the coffee that we're selecting, the Salmon Bai here, is going to be sitting in this kind of range. Now there's adjustments we can make when it comes to roasting the coffee. So we've selected it very specifically from, well, varietals, processes, country of origin, a particular farm which we have relationships with, Salmon Bai, being the real heart of what we do. So once we've selected those coffees, and as Adela was mentioning, we'll spend quite a bit of time deciding what we need. There's variations on the roast levels as well that are going to make a difference to the flavour of the coffee. So every month, the coffee changing with coffee of the month, and we might go into the area of kind of like citrus and floral, which is sitting straight after vegetal. We don't aim for vegetal tasting coffee very often.
Not really.
Don't remember one that we've actually put out there. It's not my cup of coffee. So from here we've got kind of floral, hibiscus, honeysuckles, lemongrass. These are the acidities. You've got fruity acidities up here, the citrus, the apple, pear, melon. Moving around into more sort of tropical fruits, stone fruits, berry fruits, dried fruits, talked about a lot in coffee flavours. We find a lot of these coming through from the natural processed coffees that we've got, and again we'll mention those again in a second. Down here with chocolates and nuts and the sugars, anything past that we're kind of getting to like roastiness, that sort of bready taste, spices, not again something that I find that palatable. But if you've had coffee from some of the other second wave roasters, the chain shops that you might have on street, even some of the takeaway places that also sell coffee, just have a think about that finish that you've got. I've always looked at this end of the coffee wheel and thought leathery, cinnamon, those real kind of meat-like is actually up on there as well. Not something I ever expected, but if you ever think, if you try a coffee from one of those places, you actually do get some of that finish. It's not for us. So we're aiming in the floral all the way around to the sort of nuttiness. Now, somebody gave us a call several years ago, and then had one of our coffees of the month, and it was a Nicaraguan. It was years ago. And she said, I just had this fantastic Nicaraguan coffee from you, and my parents bought it for me. How do I get some more? And it really triggered me thinking, and we sat down and realised that at that point we only had our forest blend, which sits in very closely with Anthem blend. The two of these, and the reason that is actually a resident blend, are both sitting here in a very chocolatey, nutty. Many of our wholesale customers are purchasing forest blend. It's a crowd pleaser. It's a coffee that actually, after coffee of the month, is most popular at home. It's really good in a cafetiere. It's really good for your home domestic machines. It's quite forgiving, even more so than Anthem blend. So it extracts really well on basic equipment. In this area down here is where you will find Anthem blend and forest blend. So chocolate, nuts, caramels.
Caramel, definitely, like creamy body as well. Just nice solid cup of coffee. Yeah.
And it sits consistently, and we blend consistently for the flavours of the coffees that you've got here, with the chocolate, nuts, dark sugars, as we say, sort of caramel flavours.
Also, like maybe I would point out the difference between Anthem and First Blend is that First Blend has really low acidity, and not many people, they like it in the coffee as well. They just really want like a very sweet chocolate, milk chocolate, dark chocolate taste. But if there is a little bit of acidity out of fruits, it's not a cup of coffee.
Yeah, for sure, and especially if you're drinking it with milks as well, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I notice we're on 11 minutes at the moment, so I'm just going to scoot through quickly. This is where the Jazzy Mat sits, and they are always natural process coffees. There's generally two of them, so it helps us kind of calibrate in the flavours that we're presenting. But the personality, as you said, that kind of jamminess, that funkiness, it's my favourite. What do we have on our little badges? Yeah, I'm so jammy.
You're jammy. There we go. Yeah.
And then you've got up here in the citrus, florals, sweet acidities is where Acacia sits. So again, really popular coffee.
Maybe just like a one more thing about it, what Adam just described in terms of natural and washed coffees, guys. So that natural Jazzy Max blend is so jammy and sweet and almost funky because the natural coffee process, basically the coffee is dried with the cherry fruit still on the coffee bean, and that's why the juices from the cherry itself are going into the bean as well. So hence the fruitiness and kind of like a vibrancy in that coffee. On the other hand, washed coffee, dried without cherry, clean, and that's why they are so floral, and it's sort of like a original kind of a flavor you can get without any like a fruit interaction. So
tasting the beans straight away.
Exactly,
rather than
exactly.
Infused,
so that's the difference. So that's why it's gonna be more like a smooth, bright, and elegant, and that Jazzy is kind of artistic.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's not forget that coffee is a fruit. So those cherries and that fruit, and it's a bit more of an expensive process in some cases because it takes a little longer.
Could be, but also those two processes, washed and natural, they are very, very original ones in terms of history of coffee growing as well. Because nowadays you have many, many other processes as well, which we don't have enough time to talk about it. But also sometimes they are more even closer to wine industry as well, in terms of fermentation and putting extra stuff in it. But it's for another probably.
Absolutely. Right, so what we're on 13 minutes now, so that'd be an ideal time.
I think it's an ideal time, guys, to start cupping coffee safely. I think the temperature is just on point.
Yeah. Great, okay, so let's go ahead. So you're starting with the Acacia blend.
Yes. And it's actually tasting coffee, so spoon and just quick slurp.
So it'd be normal for us when we're cupping not to be discussing the flavours of the coffees, but as we're a bit more interactive now, I think it's probably a nice opportunity. Maybe give us an idea of what you're getting from the coffees as you're going through them, Adela.
Exactly. So Acacia blend, washed coffees, very clean, very floral. Like Adam showed you the florals here. So I can definitely taste some like a honeysuckle and kind of jasmine, like a tea-like, maybe green tea, some citrus like mandarin. But it is very silky body actually as well, very acidic comparing to the next one for sure. Adam, what do you think?
So there we go. So you may also want a little spittoon. We often spit the coffees. I'm not going to do that this afternoon because I haven't had a lot of coffee today.
It depends, yes.
Yeah, it's quite an elegant coffee, this one, isn't it?
And temperature is just perfect now, guys. So
as you're tasting the coffee with a spoon, feel free to really try and spray it into your mouth. So the reason we're making quite a lot of noise is that we're just trying to blow a load of air in at the same time.
Yeah.
And occasionally that can hit the back of your throat, and we'll have a little coffee in the roastery. But so I think I've got a little hibiscus in there. It's hard when you've been talking about flavours not to have them in your head. I've always got a little bit of
exactly, yeah. But
there's a grapey sweetness in there as well, though.
It is very sweet and very like a nice balanced acidity in this coffee, I would say.
Yeah, really beautiful, elegant coffee.
Mhm.
Fantastic if you're going to be. I mean, as I say, you run it as an espresso, and we have done before. But the coffee comes through really beautifully if you're going to run it with a V60 and any filter machine at home.
Exactly. Yeah.
Cool. Let's have a little plunge into the Jazzy Max. I'm looking
Jazzy
forward to
Max.
this.
Happy face.
Happy face.
Yeah, Jazzy Max. You can now start comparing, guys. So like a Jazzy Max has definitely like a more pronounced body. So imagine like how the coffee sits on your tongue actually, and it's slightly heavier but more flavorsome actually. What do you think?
I'm getting that jammy marmalade almost with it. With
Exactly, it's really jammy or like a orange marmalade, and very very sweet, I would say.
It's got a real nice kind of rounded like fruitiness to it.
Yeah.
Though. It's not sharp.
Yeah.
I'm getting the candied fruits with this as well.
Yeah, or like a honey. In my case, it is very sweet, and also I would say aftertaste is slightly longer than with the
the finish does go on for quite some time, doesn't it?
Yeah,
and I think that's when you're way more experienced at tasting coffees than myself. But the thing that I always find is what really defines a great coffee for me is I can still taste it, and if that flavour is fantastic. And as I mentioned, some of the other coffees that I've tasted on the high street before, it's the finish. It's like the reason people have to put sugar into their coffee is to deal with that. Really what we're experiencing here is the difference that we've got between these two resident blends, and we're always focusing on this particular personality, aren't we?
Absolutely.
So we design the coffees will change seasonally. In fact, one of the coffees in the Anthem blend has changed even since we'd sent this out to you guys, and we'll move on to Anthem blend in a moment. But hopefully you're experiencing those real sort of delicate, sweet acidities, the elegance around acacia, and as it cools down, I'm sure we'll find a little more. The Jazzy Max just straight into my mouth.
Yeah, I would say like
there.
Acacia is almost like a tea, actually tea-like. Imagine like a green tea. That really kind of vibe it has for me, and it's lovely. But I'm more on this like a Jazzy Max side as well, because
you like this in cold brew, don't
you? Yeah. I do love cold brew. Everyone knows it. I do love cold brew.
Make an amazing cold brew.
Natural coffee is always good to have it as an iced coffee or like a cold brew coffee. It works perfectly in the summer, which is coming now.
Let's have a little dip in the Anthem blend, shall we?
Exactly, let's do it.
So again, remembering to clean your spoon every time you're in there. Yeah, I'm pleased we did this. It's a really nice demonstration of the three residents.
What we usually do for Anthem blend, as we mentioned, I think before, we go for Brazil and Colombian coffee, because these two origins have been always friends in terms of coffee, and they're just so balanced. And from Brazil you have chocolate and nuts and caramel, and Colombia just adds up some fruitiness in it.
Yeah, it's a real classic pairing, isn't it? And friends, I like
that. It works, like, it's fantastic.
Yeah, the family friends.
Family friends, yes. Yeah.
So forest blend, as I mentioned, is something that I'd certainly encourage you to try. What would you be expecting to experience if you had the forest blend added on there onto the end? So we've got that kind of slightly sweeter with the Anthem blend.
It would be very sweeter. Sorry, it would be very sweet, but also the acidity would be very low, or maybe most of you would say there is no acidity at all, because Brazilian coffee is really like nuts, chocolate.
Yeah.
That's it.
I'm so nuts.
It's great.
So what should we do? Should we have another little pass through these?
I would go for another pass, guys, because we did the first one. Now we are on almost 20 minutes. And because the coffee is warm now, or maybe lukewarm, and most of the coffees here we have, they can open up even more, and you can experience more flavors. And sometimes I can taste something and I know it so well, but because the mind and the heart, they are sort of connected, but sometimes not. So in that case, I usually work with this flavor wheel as well, because sometimes I know the flavor, but I can't name it.
Yeah.
So this is great tool like for descriptors actually, and it's industry standard as well, which you mentioned probably.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is just amazing list of descriptors which I'm working hard to build up my memory palace with that, but I still need this.
Helps with a
printing.
common language as well, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
So, you know, we've got some sweet and sugary. We've kind of mentioned that a few times, but you know, the range that we've got in here on this particular wheel: vanilla, marzipan, nougat, honey, right the way through to your sort of maple syrups, molasses.
Yeah.
Cola's on there as well.
Cola, yeah,
interesting
or
one.
you don't have only like a milk chocolate and dark chocolate. You have baker's chocolate, you have bittersweet chocolate, you have white chocolate, and there's so many, and it's very adventurous actually.
Yeah, I can almost taste the more sort of fermented fruits in the Jazzy Max now.
Yeah.
Interesting there with the acacia actually.
Mhm.
I'm finding a lot more body
I will
coming
try.
through. Now we're at 20 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. With the light roasted coffee, it's
Kind of
usually
it's
quite
almost like sort of bloomed
surprising.
into something that I can
Oh, yeah.
I can taste.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. Hmm. Yes.
So what you find in store where we've got these, and it's we've been trying to find a way to be able to just communicate the complexities that kind of come with coffee, and the flavours that are there in 2-word descriptors. So Anthem blend, as we've just been mentioning there, with breaking that down as classic and caramel. So you'll find in store, if you visit a Perky or some of our retailers like Eat 17 in particular, that classic caramel, just giving people enough opportunity to be able to see where we've designed these blends. And the whole purpose of designing these blends is to have consistency. You should always find a similar experience through those 3 resident blends as we've just had now.
Mm-hmm.
Funky and jammy, and I really think that's a good descriptor of the Jazzy Max.
I think so too. Mm.
And finally, elegant and floral. And what we've done with Perky is just try to simplify things. And specialty coffee should be really approachable. It should be something that people feel they can just, you know, explore at home. It's not an elite area. These are really high quality coffees that we've got in our blends, but giving the opportunity to be able to drink the type of coffee that the personality that you enjoy at home. And so very much the Jazzy Max having that really kind of like fun, jammy, fermented, or just delicious coffee that you can see I get excited about it. Elegance and acidities in with the acacia blend, and those florals. We haven't actually got an Ethiopian in there currently, have we? But it's quite common for us to use an Ethiopian washed coffee.
Absolutely. Yeah, Ethiopian coffee washed one is usually very floral, so you can get lavender easily, or chamomile, or hibiscus as well. But also, guys, just one point, like you can smell some florals in Anthem or Jazzy as well. Like there's no strict rule like that washed coffee is floral only. No. So it's pretty adventurous. So try to explore, and also maybe now it's time to do the 3rd pass because coffee will getting cooler. And yeah, you would be surprised that you have some maybe like a raspberry cordial florals in Jazzy Max.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
you know, personalities, they're in these areas, but absolutely, you know, there will be some nuts, there will be some, but the main focus of the resin blends that we're presenting for yourselves is there's your range. So Forest Blend sits in with there as well. Coffee of the month, we expect to move, and it's pretty much always a single origin. Our coffee of the month, a really good value way of purchasing coffee from us, but expect it to bounce around in between these areas. Decaf also. We've got a sugarcane at the moment.
We have sugarcane from Colombia, sugarcane process, and it's fascinating because it's decaf, but it tastes really like acacia blend. It's super floral, super sweet, super clean. But decaf these days, like there's been huge improvement in processing. So some people, they can't believe it's decaffeinated coffee actually.
Almost unexpected.
Absolutely, yeah, unexpected, yeah.
Finally, the single origin that we run, treat it as a coffee of the month. However, we run that for a bit longer. It's the best, basically, the coffee that we source, and that might run for, depending on how popular it is or how small the lot was that we've had through.
Mm.
But we'll often run for about 3 months.
3 months, let's say. Yeah.
And doesn't range hugely. They'll often be sort of in that area where the sort of the Acacia or the Jazzy Max is on the single origin. Would that be fair in terms of the flavours that we're normally presenting?
Yeah.
Always a light roast on the single origins.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that probably concludes this. Thank you very much for joining us on a Sunday afternoon. And if you're picking this up and running through it at a later date, we'd love to hear your feedback. We'd love to hear what you'd like to see more from us. And thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, I hope that you enjoyed the cupping, and feel free to carry on.
And stay perky.
Yeah.
Brett's just working out how to turn it off.
Yeah.